What was the Galactic Empire's greatest mistake? Most people say the rebel pilot, the exhaust port, a fatal engineering flaw. But what if the battle station had already failed long before anyone climbed into a fighter? Because it isn't just a superweapon, it's the largest government megaproject in the galaxy. And once we understand why the Empire built it, we start to recognize the very same patterns in our own world. The battle station consumes unimaginable resources: steel, energy, rare materials, millions of workers, the greatest scientists in the galaxy. But one simple question: why this project? Why not 10,000 Star Destroyers? 100,000 more pilots? Better logistics? More advanced hyperdrive? Every decision means giving up countless alternatives. Economists call this opportunity cost, and this is where the real problem begins. How did the Empire know the battle station was the best possible use of all those resources? The answer? It didn't, and perhaps never could. Over a century ago, Ludwig von Mises described a problem still unsolved today: economic calculation. In a market, prices emerge from millions of voluntary decisions, and those prices constantly communicate information. Which resources are scarce, which products people want, which ideas work, which resources are wasted. Profit and loss are much more than money. They are information. The Empire replaces this with commands, but commands don't generate information. They merely enforce decisions. Friedrich Hayek pushed it further. The problem isn't that the Emperor has bad advisors. It is that nobody can possess all the knowledge required. The engineer understands his machine. The pilot understands her chip. The miner understands the ore. The merchant understands the customers. That knowledge is scattered across millions of individuals, and it changes every hour. No agency, no government, no computer, and no emperor can hold all of it at once. The battle station is therefore an attempt to coordinate the complexity of an entire galaxy from the top down. Now it gets interesting. Who actually wanted the battle station? Not just the emperor. The project director wanted it. The commander wanted it. The admirals, the ministries. Every expansion created new departments, budgets, carriers, position of power. And competition changes no longer who creates the greatest value, but who receives the largest budget. This isn't science fiction. In the Soviet Union, huge parts of the bureaucracy were not focused on serving consumers, but on fulfilling plans, writing reports, and expanding their own responsibilities. Success measured by the size of a department or a production target. They were not irrational. They responded rationally to their incentives. And that's why the battle station keeps growing. Not because it's the best idea, but because more and more people personally benefit from its existence. Most fans believe the exhaust port was the fatal flaw. Economically, the real flaw runs deeper. The Empire concentrates unimaginable capital in a single location. One successful attack, one critical failure, and investment accumulated over decades disappeared in seconds. Markets usually work the opposite way. They spread risk across many companies, factories, ideas, and experiments. If one fails, everyone else learns from it. If the battle station fails, everything is lost. And here Star Wars leaves the galaxy, because suddenly the battle station feels familiar. Of course, Berlin Airport isn't a space station, and China's ghost cities aren't superweapons. But they raise the same economic question. What happens when projects get larger and larger, while fewer and fewer people can actually judge whether they are worth the cost? The larger an organization becomes, the harder economic calculation gets. And the more internal incentives replace the feedback of profit and loss. It doesn't mean every large project is doomed, many succeed. But the further decisions move from the people who bear the costs and judge the benefits, the greater the risk that resources are misallocated. The rebel pilot destroyed the battle station, at least on the surface. Economically, he was only the final trigger. The real mistake happened much earlier. The moment the empire believed in a small group could make better decisions than millions of individuals. The moment political incentives replaced economic feedback. And the moment nobody could honestly answer whether the battle station was ever the best use of all those resources. Star Wars isn't a lecture on economics, yet the battle station illustrates one of the deepest economic problems of all. Not power, not corruption, but knowledge. No single person can possess the information needed to centrally coordinate a complex economy. That's why prosperity and innovation usually don't emerge from one grand master plan. They emerge from millions of small decisions that continuously adapt to new information. So perhaps the exhaust port was never the greatest weakness. Perhaps it was the belief that a central authority could calculate the complexity of an entire galaxy.